Welcome to the Super Intelligent Podcast, everyone. You are listening or watching the greatest podcast in the history of mankind. And if not, at least a pretty good one, I think. I'm here with Emily Forlini. My name is Mike Elgin. I am in Oaxaca, Mexico, where it's 78 degrees. And Emily is in the East Coast, where it's 1. How you doing, Emily?
1 feels like negative 15. I'm good. There's cabin fever, but I actually got tickets to see Avatar tonight, which is a movie everyone used to talk about and now nobody's talking about, but we're going to go see it. And the visuals look amazing. I think that's a good cold weather activity, so I'm excited about it. It came out in December, a bit late to the game.
I have the feeling, based on what I've read about Avatar, that they've got all the technologies locked in and all their techniques locked in, and they can just churn these things out till the end of time, like Star Wars or like, who knows what, like Toy Story. They seem to have really mastered it. The storytelling is great, the writing is good, and it's probably going to be a great movie. And so you can tell me after you've seen it whether I should go see it. But it's another story about high technology, basically. They couldn't make a movie like that 10 years ago. So we live in interesting times. Well, one of the things that is most interesting to me from a human culture perspective, from the history of human culture perspective, is that we have intelligent machines. Not the podcast. We do have the podcast as well, the TWIT podcast, Intelligent Machines. But we also actually have the machines, not just as an abstract thing or something that's in a lab, but in our everyday lives. Everyday people are just interacting every day with artificial intelligence that vastly exceeds the capabilities of most of the science fiction we read about in the 20th century. And it's a banality. It's a annoyance, actually. We've actually gotten used to these things, and now we're getting annoyed with them. And you have a great topic that you brought to this podcast about why they can be annoying. So can you explain to me what it is that you've been detecting lately about basically the choice among chatbots?
Yes. So I had this realization yesterday that it's, everyone's trying to figure out how to use AI. How do I incorporate it into my life, my personal life, my work life? That's just the big mass experiment right now. And I'm doing it too. And so the chatbots that I talk to in my chatbot stable are Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, and just Google search results, which is now a full chatbot pretty much. So they're all free, except for I currently have a super advanced version of Claude because I got it for free from the company. So I've been using the $100 a month plan for a while. So I don't have any limits on that. So sometimes I use that, but basically I just realized it's kind of a roulette. Like, even though I have this $100 plan, sometimes I talk to ChatGPT, sometimes Gemini, sometimes Anthropic's Claude. And it's like, what kind of products are these? Usually when you use a product, there's a benefit that you come to it for. I'll use this camera for that, this, recorder for that, like for my journalism stuff. But with chatbots, it's like they're so openly commodified, and it's different every time. The quality of the answer, are they hallucinating or not? You barely even know if what they're saying is true. Maybe sometimes you fact check it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes your fact check is you're with friends and you say something and everyone's like, what? And you're like, oh crap, I should probably switch from ChatGPT to Claude because I got that from ChatGPT. It's just this big experiment. Maybe you're wandering in the desert looking for aliens like that guy we talked about last time, and you're like, oh yeah, I should probably stop using Gemini. It's just random. And the companies themselves, we can put a screenshot or something in the show notes, but the way they quantify model performance is not intelligible by anybody. It's these tables with categories at the top. It'll be like STEM, coding, and then it just has percentages of, somehow it performed at 93 and Gemini is at 91, so this model is better. So their feature set or their quality, their benefits is just a nonsensical table. And that pretty much is my experience as well. Is that yours?
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay attention to the actual benchmarks, but the
No, no one
benchmarks,
does because they're useless. That's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
right.
There's like no
Yes.
feature set. There's no set feature set of these chatbots.
The other problem is that there's always been an issue with chip developers in technology gaming the benchmarks, basically figuring out what the benchmarks are measuring and then optimizing their chips or their software or whatever for those benchmarks in ways that don't reflect real world usage. That whole problem is greatly magnified among the chatbots. They basically can, if they want to test really high on one of the benchmarks, they can very easily, because it's AI, it's malleable clay, optimize it for those benchmarks. So it can move it from a medium number that means nothing into a much higher number that means nothing. And so
Right.
it's
Yeah.
in any event, all of the benchmarking stuff is more or less useless to consumers. And like you say, it's a game of whack a mole because they can change and they do change these things all the time. They swap things out. This has been documented in December, where ChatGPT was found sort of optimize. They claim to be optimizing the traffic by somebody asks a simple question, they'd swap in an older model, cheaper for them to run, um, presumably using a different tube. This argument that they were optimizing the traffic is kind of nebulous. But the fact is that the chat we can assume that the chatbot companies are not giving you the most expensive model. They're not going to spend $15 when you ask, what year was Rodney Dangerfield, born in or whatever. Um, and so, I had an experience. Like usually, I'm really good at prompt engineering for accuracy. So my most recent prompt literally tells I do the question, whatever it is, and then I copy and paste in this prompt. And the prompt says, okay, now that you got your answer, I want you to go back and fact check every single thing and look for false assumptions, look for fake data, look for this, look for that, and then tell me score yourself on how accurate this is on a scale of 1 to 10. I found this somewhere. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know where I saw it, and I just basically copied and pasted it. And it's wonderful. And it like sometimes, and again, this is another example of how it swaps out different models. Sometimes I use Gemini 3 through Kagi Assistant. My son works for Kagi. Some of the stuff I'm going to be saying is going to sound a bit like a Kagi commercial because, in fact, I do use all these things through Kagi, and I'm sorry for that. I don't mean to do that, but that's in fact what I do use. So I just use Gemini 3 through Kagi, and sometimes it will actually give me this whole analysis at the end of how it did the first time and what it corrected for the second time, even though it never showed me the first answer. And sometimes it doesn't do that. So I assume that Google is sort of using slightly different models because I'm basically doing the exact. It's a verbatim prompt,
Right.
and I'm getting different results based on that exact same prompt. Anyway, I
Well,
also
yeah, I
had
think
before.
the technologies, it's sorry to interrupt, but it's designed to be creative and have a different answer every time. And so it's inherently variable, the product, the output of this product. Then they're doing things like upgrading models or swapping them out or tweaking them on the fly. So everything is constantly changing. So you don't quite know what you're going to get. And my point is, you might have a great prompt, but you can put it, given the variability, you can put it in any of those chatbots I mentioned and get a good result. So it's like they're all the same at the high level. And a lot of people are actually talking about that commodification. And it's really my experience as well.
Well, let me, can I read you my prompt, my current prompt, because I change this all the time. So this is what I jump. These are the hoops I
You
jump
can
through.
read it. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
you could put it in any of those chatbots
Yes, you can. Yes,
and they
you
would
can.
all respond and it would probably be a good prompt for all of them. So I'm saying
Exactly.
yeah, so okay, let's hear your prompt.
Yeah. So this is okay. So I say, you're a brilliant researcher with extreme. So this is called role prompting, where I tell it what it is. You're a brilliant researcher with extremely high standards for factual, verifiable information. I'm going to give you an assignment. The assignment is to give me a comprehensive, factual, fact checked, verifiable, relevant bullet point, a list of bullet points on the topic or subject I give you. Favor newer sources over older sources. Favor information from highly reputable sources. I have a bunch of language about writing in clear, plain English, and to
Mm-hmm.
keep all the details of who, what, when, where, and how. I tell it explicitly to specify dates, name names, provide the relevant numbers and other specifics. And then this is the prompt that I added to the end of this, that I told you about. Once you've got an answer, check your answer for mistakes, missing steps, false assumptions, or made up details. Then rewrite the answer more accurately and add a confidence rating from 1 to 10. That's
That's
what I have to
good.
go through to get an accurate answer out of these fucking things. And so, that's actually more often. I'm just upping the percentage. So I'm hoping, I assume that a prompt like that, that's just so over the top, like demanding in terms of factual accuracy,
Mm-hmm.
will move it from being correct 85% of the time to being correct 95% of the time. That's my assumption. It's something like that.
That's amazing. I love that you just have that because you can copy and paste it, because if you
Yeah.
don't, it's just so much work. They give you a good answer, you're like, oh, that's the answer, and then you have to go back
Yeah.
again and again and again.
Yeah.
But there are some things that are different. So one thing I respect about Claude is that they do not do image generation, and that's just one of the only real lines in the sand I've seen any of the major companies draw. They're just like, we're not going to specialize in that. They can look at images if I send it to them, but that's the only company I'm aware of that said, like, we're just not going to do one thing and we're going to focus on something else. So they do a lot of coding and other stuff. And then the other big differentiator is just, which one have you been talking to more? Which one has more context on you? And I think ChatGPT is the best at that, regardless. I think Gemini is still figuring that out, but that's about the only differences I can really think of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there any other difference you can think of in between all the chatbots?
Nothing that I can articulate. I mean, they're clearly different.
Right.
Now, I mentioned Kagi, and again, not to be a Kagi commercial, but you mentioned the AI results that come from just regular searches on Google search. Kagi does
Mhm.
something really cool, I think, which is that I have Kagi as my default search engine. And you can ask your favorite chatbot how to do that if you're a Kagi user. Kagi is paid only. I don't think there's a free way to use it. Not sure about that, but I do pay for it. I do Kagi searches in the address bar of my browser, which is Chrome,
Mhm.
and it defaults to a Kagi search. But if you put a question mark at the end of your query, it will give you a little AI answer. And the AI answers are better than
Okay.
Google's AI answers. For one thing, they're a lot shorter, but they're good answers. Like if I just want to know, I always want to know stuff like why is vanilla, where did vanilla originate? Some dumb question that's just some factual thing. It's and I don't want the Wikipedia page on vanilla. I just want Madagascar, whatever it is. I don't know. And so I just ask the question, put a question mark, and then just the answer is there. Plus a million links, or not a
Mhm.
million. It's Kagi. They only give you a couple of pages of links, but there's a really good answer, and that's all I wanted, and it's quick.
Mhm.
But the other thing about Kagi is that they have all the chatbots, like for the price of admission. You can try them, and this is the downside, actually, or the problem that I intend to complain about, which is that I switch between them, and like you say, I'm like, okay, that was a pretty good answer. This is pretty good. I tried to switch to Claude, and then I ended up accidentally defaulting back to Gemini. For a while I was using Chat. So it's like, but if you really want to try a bunch of different ones, this is one way to do it.
Yeah.
They not only give you the different chatbots from the different companies, but they give you the different versions. So I have like
Mhm.
3 versions of Gemini and like 4 versions of something else. Um, it's a bit much. I tend to just leave it on Gemini 3. It's
Yeah,
okay.
to me it's too much, just because what's the point of exploring them, and they all change every day. That's what I'm saying, is like there's no
Yeah.
real hook into them. It's kind of a waste of time because you might do all this research, but you looked at these 10 chatbots when they a snapshot in time, how they were right now and how they were for that answer and that thing you were talking about. Any different subject, any different day, you'd have a completely different evaluation. And it's almost like maybe the personality, like ChatGPT kind of has more personality, but they all try to gauge your personality as well. And so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
it's just this commodification. And I think it might be something that these companies are going to have to grapple with. They kind of tried to get unique data by signing these licensing deals. I have not seen any material benefit from that or difference in any answers. But I mean, this term commodification, it's kind of like, gold or wheat. If every gold mine is mining gold, it's all the same gold. So it's just which one's cheaper. And I think we got to that state very quickly in this industry, and people are not acting like it. They're acting like they're all rivals. And I'm just like, I think you guys might all kind of be the same already. I don't like there are
Yeah.
certain features here and there, but I know people who really use Claude Code or like some of these really specific things. But overall, as far as the general public is concerned, these are very similar products.
I think that's right. And you talked about them going after each other. Tomorrow's the Super Bowl. We're recording this the day before the Super Bowl. And the ads on the Super Bowl are going to be going after each other. The AI companies are going to be shitting all over the other competitors. And that's going to be fun to watch. They've already been sort of arguing about their Super Bowl ads on X. That's been fun for comic relief. But you actually made a very interesting point in the chatter when we were talking about what we were going to talk about today, which is that I assume it's your suspicion that they're going to try to decommodify with hardware, and I think that's exactly right, because I think once people are using AI hardware devices, my views on this. We talked about it many times. It's going to be glasses, might be watches to a certain extent. There's rumors that Apple wants a pin, which
Mm-hmm.
tells me a lot about, you know, makes me
Yeah.
it basically meets my prediction that I made many years ago. That is, once Steve Jobs died, there's going to be a slow decay of Apple to it becoming a ordinary company, a Gil Amelio type of company, or something like
Mm-hmm.
Samsung making dumb decisions like, oh, we're going to have an AI pin. Like,
I
under
want
Steve
a
Jobs, it would
brooch.
never. Brooch, yeah, exactly. I
I want
want one of
a
those, like,
glam, glitz and glam, something a grandmother would wear. I want an AI brooch.
I want one of those New Mexico ties that has the thing here with
Oh, I love
the two
those.
little. You do? Well, okay. Well, I want a smart one of those.
Yes. Those are
I want a
great.
smart monocle. It's going to be
Oh yeah, me
glasses,
too.
and but so I think that what's going to happen is Apple is going to choose or build the AI for the Apple glasses. And if you're an Apple fanboy or girl, that you're going to use the Apple glasses, and that's going to be your AI. So I think that the decommodification process will happen through hardware, and there's going to be a bazillion glasses, and you can look at the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. Okay, Meta is a garbage company, like they're just unethical, and I want nothing to do with them. But I have Ray-Ban Meta glasses because they're sort of advanced. They're ahead of the pack in terms of having the features that I want, and I use what is it, Meta AI or whatever they call it, right? I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to use Meta AI, but they're in the glasses, and I don't want to use the glasses, but those are the glasses. So that
A lot of
so I think,
contradictions going on here.
yeah, but I think
I don't want
that's
anything to
how
do
it's.
with that company except for I want to put it on my face.
Exactly, right. I want to make it the most important thing. And also, by the way, I
Right.
do use Instagram, WhatsApp, and
Right.
Facebook,
Right.
not because I want to, but because the people I want to talk to are on there. And if I have the choice of having nothing to do with half my friends and family or using Meta devices. Anyway, that's another set of
Well, that is the
complaints.
point
But
I'm making, though. That is exactly the point. It's like, okay, so what are the routes out of? Everyone's selling the same gold. It's the same element on the periodic table. It's all commodified. That's an exaggeration, but it's closer than I think people admit. So, how do you get out? So, there's hardware, exactly what you just said. So, in that case, OpenAI is kind of actually not in a good spot because it's supposedly developing hardware. It's a rumor. It's going to tease it this year. but they might be
Johnny Ive
scrambling a
is
bit.
designing it supposedly,
Johnny Ive, the
and so that's
ex-Apple
their.
guy, right. And then ChatGPT, we should talk about the Super Bowl for a second. I mean, I don't know when
Okay.
this is going to publish, but basically, it's Anthropic put out an ad. People always put their ads out before the Super Bowl as a YouTube clip, and it's making fun of ChatGPT for having ads and how they'll try to weave it into the conversation. Like if someone asked ChatGPT, what's the World Cup schedule? Then ChatGPT would be like, wow, you're so sporty. Love that you asked that question. Here's the schedule. And by the way, did you know this is the official ball and you can buy your own at FIFA.com? And so it's like, it pretends to be this robot, speaking ChatGPT out loud. And Sam Altman went crazy. It totally struck a nerve with him. Long tweets. He does long tweets in general. That man has a premium account for sure. He's also way too on Twitter and needs to get off. But he did one of his long, long tweets about this, about how it's inaccurate. He would never do ads like that. And just the fact that he cared was such a red flag to everybody. Like, how could you possibly? You're Sam Altman. You're OpenAI CEO. You're the ChatGPT guy. How could you care if somebody else says something bad about you and you can't laugh it off? And that was almost like he knows that he's not in a good spot. He knows that they need to differentiate more, and that the one thing that they did different, the ads, was so sensitive to him that he just can't handle it. I just don't. They're all just kind of clinging, hoping that nobody like figures out what they're doing.
And they're egomaniacs, and they're worried about their customers. And by their customers, I don't mean you. I mean their investors. And so that's all he cares about is
Oh
he's
yeah,
been made to look bad in front of the other billionaires and the other multimillionaires, who he has reassured that putting ads in is the way forward, the way to raise the money he needs to pay back all those investors. And
right.
so that's really what he cares about. That's his audience, and he just doesn't want them coming to believe the Anthropic position, because that means he's done. Like he's out, because he's bet the company on this idea of monetizing it this way. So
Mm-hmm. But they have to monetize somehow. Right now, they're all farming the same crop. The
right.
difference is going to be what road they take. And Claude is set, everyone's realizing, because they're getting all these enterprise contracts for coding, which is one of the most promising applications of AI. OpenAI has been over here generating weird copyright images and, sending people on crazy delusions. It's very personal. So they're kind of like, what is our product? Like, what are we doing here? Okay, we're developing hardware. And then Apple, they have all of their devices. They just decided they're bad at AI, as we've talked about. They know it's a commodity, by the way, because they're just like, oh, we'll pick one of those models you guys made, and they're using different ones in different places of their business. And Google, I mean, we talked about Google. That's a whole can of worms, but that's kind of how I see the landscape right now.
Yeah, and the elephant in the living room is also a massive backlash that's brewing against AI. So it's not clear
Mm-hmm.
how that's going to play out in the long term, but people are fed up with AI, especially AI imagery, which gives me a lot of confidence in Anthropic's decision making, because it's like, AI images are just, people are fed up with them. And you have these other companies like Meta that are just going all in. So if you go to Instagram nowadays, it's okay. So you see the stories at the top, then you see the posts, and you go down a couple of posts, and then there's a row of Meta's AI only stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like reels or stories or whatever, but it's made with Meta AI, right? And so it's all AI slop, and they want you to sign up, and they're pushing, pushing, pushing. And then you go down, and it's like, what's the other ones? I don't think it's reels. Yeah, it's reels, right? The sort of vertical
Yeah,
videos,
yeah.
and those are like
The Instagram.
40% AI slop, right? So it's like there's no
Yeah,
escaping this shit. It's
Meta.
just horrible. It's everywhere, and like I, I'm so fed up with it that if I just see it on any of my feeds, I immediately block the person. I'm just it makes me throw up in my mouth a little
Yeah.
bit to see it now, because I'm just sick of it. I think this is a common notion. And so this is a problem for companies that are trying to pay for what they're doing and eventually be profitable, because the world is
Mhm.
really, you have the chatbots, which are commoditized. You have the AI slop, which everybody's fed up with. You have a million other uses which are not, scientific uses. There's a recent paper showing how they taught an LLM to read MRI data more
Mhm.
accurately than a doctor in like 3 seconds. That kind of stuff is
That's
amazing. It's
it's amazing,
amazing,
but
but
there are
that's not
also
going to pay the
studies that
bills.
count. No, it also there are other studies that contradict that. So there's a lot of people overstating capabilities as well. So I just want to be clear about
in
that.
in
That's
medicine and
that's
science
risky in
generally, yes,
healthcare,
but
in medicine. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but anyway, whether it's accurate or not, the scientists and medical researchers are buying this stuff and using it, but they're customers of the AI companies. But military is going to help, right? Military uses of AI, and then but this is
Yep.
the risk, right? So once the ads don't work, once the chatbots are not paying the bills, what do you do if you're OpenAI or one of these companies? You go looking for somebody's going to pay a ton of money. When it might be North Korea, it might be
The
some other
Saudis get
despotic.
the
Right,
oil
exactly.
money.
Iran would love like AI controlling its
They love
swarms
it.
of drones
Yeah.
and so on.
And no
And
one here
so
would even know they made the deal. So there's no reputational
right.
risk.
And these and the
Brilliant.
people running these companies are so amoral. They would sell to like a despotic regime in a second.
Oh yeah. They'd be like, that's not my fault they elected that leader. I'm just making a
Yeah.
deal.
If I don't do it, somebody else will do it, etc. So
If
these
I,
guys just need to
yeah,
be
it's all the same. Yeah.
these guys need to be
Yeah.
punished by be locked in a room with their own products. Um, so
I think one you're absolutely right, and I just think right now everyone who's using AI is like almost drunk on power, and
yeah.
it's a grand automation experiment. They're like, oh wow, wait, I had to make a presentation, so I just had AI do it. There's this obsession with automating everything. I can even automate text to my friends now. Wow, it's like, and people feel like they just got all these employees. They all just got a secretary, but
Hmm.
the output is odd sometimes. Like, I talked about I got my house. I did this big house renovation, and the main project manager we were talking to was just a terrible communicator. Like, just spelling errors, and it didn't make sense. She'd be explaining, we want to wire it this way and that way, and we have to do it this way because of that, and because of this limitation and that limitation. It just never made sense. Nothing ever made sense. Plus
Yeah.
typos. And then, we finished the renovation. Now we're back because we're having an issue. Her texts are a little different. I'm like, ooh, Tammy, what happened? Her name's really Tammy. Tammy definitely discovered ChatGPT because now, not a spelling error in sight. We got commas, we got semicolons, long texts with that are empathetic to my feelings about how, that might be confusing, and how, she's sorry she doesn't have better news. And I'm like, wow, you just boldface are copying directly from ChatGPT, and I am this close to just joking with her, like, "Hey, girl, I think it looks like you discovered AI in the last couple of months."
Yeah. I mean, hey, I think if Tammy corrects her spelling and punctuation with AI, I think that's great. Then you don't have to be subjected to like weird spellings and typos.
Yeah, you'd
Um,
think, but it's like it's so flowery. It's like now, it's like, what do you even know what you're saying at this point? Because there's so much in there that doesn't really is not helpful. Like, and it's like she's just probably drunk on this power of like, oh wow, I can just communicate so clearly. I can come off empathetically. This is an issue with their work, so maybe she's asking ChatGPT like, are we liable legally? She's just feeling real good about these responses, but there are so many things she's not addressing. And I feel like she's so excited she has this option, but she's not thinking at all. She's just copy and pasting. And it's just that quality, it goes up and down at the same time.
this is a growing problem. People like Tammy Poor Tammy.
Tammy.
I hope she doesn't listen to this. I'm sure she doesn't. Uh,
Oh, this is the last thing she would listen to.
okay.
She just yeah.
People, there actually been some studies based on this. People actually think they overestimate their cognitive capabilities when they outsource things to AI. Like you said, they make
Mhm.
a presentation, they communicate with clients on email, they send business communications, and they pat themselves on the back saying, "Wow, I'm really smart. This is really great stuff, and I'm so good for doing this." And actually, the
Exactly.
opposite is happening because as they're doing that, they are missing the opportunity to retain their whatever capability, cognitive capabilities they have, empathetic capabilities they have, and that is atrophying while at the same time they're becoming increasingly delusional about their own capabilities. This is something I've written about quite a bit. I think Mark Zuckerberg is the one who said that if you don't have AI glasses, you'll be at a cognitive disadvantage. And I've criticized that, saying, no, actually,
Mhm.
you'll be at an informational disadvantage, but you'll be at a cognitive disadvantage if you rely on AI to think for you, because you just get dumber and less capable. I mean, the irony that Tammy had to turn to a machine to sound more human and empathetic is it's basically a sign of the times. Um,
Yeah,
I and
it's interesting. She's very different than us. Like, we're writers, so written communication. I'm I'm running circles around her usually in our in our communications. She's more of a phone person, but the way the world works is, she we do text, we do email. So for her and for a lot of people who writing is hard, and there are many, many people, the ability to copy and paste from a chatbot is like a revolution. Whether you
you
have
know
like a language barrier or you're just Tammy and you have a screw loose, um, you know, but she's not. Some of the things she said, like, just didn't really make sense. She was like, "Well, we stand by our workmanship, and we checked it, and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Tammy, you sent a 23-year-old over for an hour, and 55 of those minutes he was working on something, and you're saying he performed a check of your workmanship on like a serious plumbing issue in 5 minutes, and he's 23." Like, it's like, what are you talking about? you know? But ChatGPT was probably like, "Well, did you check it?" And she said, "Yes." And it said, "Oh, well, then you met your end of the bargain. And here's a big reply you should send." It's just so silly.
It's blowing smoke. But
Yeah.
my point is always that, you mentioned that people are not professional writers like some of us, but actually writing is thinking. It's externalizing your thoughts. And writing well is to externalize your thoughts in
Yeah.
a clear way that that faithfully represents the actual thoughts or the intended communication. And this is something that everybody benefits from working on. And if you're outsourcing a chatbot, you're not working on it. If you're in the business of customer service, then you ought to work on that stuff. And the fact that
Mhm.
now that she's using a chatbot, it's being considerate. And no, you should work on being considerate, being aware of the situation of your customers and so on. And by the way, we're a couple of writers, a couple of journalists who use AI. We're talking about using AI. Just to be clear, we don't use AI for writing. I think that's a terrible idea. Like I use AI for
Yes, it
research.
is.
I use AI to give me ideas about how to flesh out a list. I can think of 5 things. Can you think of any other things? And then it gives me 10 more. And I'm like, okay, one of those is actually really good. And I'll include that. Not their words, but their idea, the sort of the completion of the list. It's good for that sort of thing. I do use it for spell check, looking for extra spaces for punctuation, things like that. Not punctuation. I don't think a chatbot has ever improve my punctuation. But like, sometimes I make little typos, like I'll do a period and then quotation marks and then another period, and it points that out. I get rid of the extra period, and I'm good. And by the way, we were talking about this disclosure thing. This has become a big thing, and
Mhm.
I think we've been influential on some of our audience, and I do it in my columns now. And Kevin was pointing out that I should have flat out say at the beginning, Kevin, our producer, my son, flat out should say, I don't use AI for writing, which is a great point because that's really what people are caring about.
Yeah.
Is this, are these the idea? Is this like Tammy? these ideas, these claims, these
Tammy.
all this stuff? Is this coming from AI, or is this coming from the person? And it's all coming from me. And that's how he does his email. Because after listening to our conversation, he put one in his email that says, "I don't
Yeah, I
use
love
AI
that.
for email." And so this is a great idea. The $10,000 question is: Am I getting output from a chatbot, or are you talking to me? I think it's a big thing, right? And so
Right.
I think as part of these disclosures, we need to say, no, I am talking. I'm talking. This is me talking. These are my thoughts, my words, and this not output from a chatbot.
Right. And so I think I put I don't use AI for writing because I don't. I in email, I do use it if there's a suggested response on a very simple email where I'm almost just acknowledging. Like I'll be like, file received, thank you. You know,
Yeah,
if
will
Google
do.
generates
Stuff like
that,
that.
I'll do that because it's like whatever, no one actually cares what I say. Um in the acknowledgement thing. But yeah, it's just like, what did you think? Did you actually verify the output? And so I also put in my disclosure, I read all of my emails personally because there are a lot of email summarizing tools. If I'm responding to you, I read the email and now I'm writing you back as a person. It's very
Yeah,
basic, but you have to clarify these things these days. And I can't get over this Tammy thing. I'm just gonna make one more point on it.
yeah,
It really made me appreciate what we do as writers and just anybody who's thorough and thinks through their work. Because if you have professionals out there who are just copy and pasting from ChatGPT, you're not thinking. And I even valued my liberal arts degree for a hot sec. I was like, I really learned how to think. And I think actually that's very important. And it's AI is really eroding that from people because it's such a glossy, perfect looking output that people are moving so quickly these days, they just send it, but it's actually not good.
yeah. It's not good. You're not communicating. You're not participating in the conversation really
No,
fully.
you're like a weird puppet in your own life, and
Yes.
it's bizarre.
Yeah. And this is one of the things my most recent Commuter World column. I'm writing about the OpenClaw thing, which you were one of the first to write about. Now you mentioned it's so saturated, everybody's writing about it. But I wrote about the four parts of OpenClaw, which is one is OpenClaw, two is the sort of OpenClaw app store called, I don't know what it's called. It's a GitHub repository with all these skills, and it's full of malware already. The third one is Molt Book, which is a Reddit-like social network for the bots, supposedly. And then the fourth one is a tool that where bots can hire people to go run errands. And so you can imagine. I was just riffing, talking to my wife, Amira. I think it was last night or night before last, about an extreme example based on the fact that AI chatbots are completely amoral and have no concept of ethics. So, for example, let's say you said, book me a first class seat on a flight. And so, and you had OpenClaw, right? And this is an agentic, radically. If you don't know about OpenClaw, read Emily's article on PC Mag about OpenClaw. But basically, it's software that runs on your desktop computer, and you tell it, "Get me a first class seat on this flight." The agent could theoretically, this is totally hypothetical, totally theoretical, go and see that all the first class tickets were booked, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore it can go through Moltbook or not Moltbook, but go to this service to hire people. Could hire a hacker to hack the airline, or it could build an agent, or do its own vibe coding for an agent to hack the airline to get the names and addresses and information on everybody who has a first class ticket, and then go hire somebody to assassinate two of them so you can have your seats, right? This is entirely in the realm, theoretically, of how chatbots function. They've been given an instruction. They see barriers in their way. They figure out how to overcome those barriers, and then they give you what you want, right? something bad is going to happen from this stuff. And and none of which is my point. My point is, who's to blame when it does?
Yes,
Is
who's
it
to blame? Who gave them the
is it
money to hire the hacker? That's what I
exactly
want to know.
whose choice was it? So the guy who invented OpenClaw is not taking any responsibility. The dude who created the sort of like the TaskRabbit for agents isn't taking any responsibility. They all think that, and then the people who are installing OpenClaw on their systems, on the systems they use for work, sometimes even the work supplied software on the Works network. People actually doing this. They're like, oh, it's an application. I heard about it and I downloaded it. I'm not to blame when it starts murdering airline passengers. So it's like it's just this really interesting thing where we've just rushed headlong to this thing. I call it the carelessness industrial complex, where we're just like
Absolutely.
everything in our politics and in technology, the winners, the people who are rewarded and incentivized, are the people who are like, fuck it, I don't give a shit what happens. Well, I'm just going to throw this powerful stuff out there and it's not my problem. This is the whole vibe, this is the whole attitude of the winners in a society right now. We need to change those incentives. That's all I'm saying. I'll take the first class
I mean,
flight,
it's
though.
just
I'm
a
sorry
bunch of headless
for the dearly
chickens.
departed. Yeah, right. Yes.
That was a funny example. Yeah, it's like these headless AI chickens that are all
Yeah.
over social media, and they're vibe coding Moltbook,
Yeah.
probably. They're vibe coding OpenClaw, so they're just cranking out BS,
All this stuff
what you
was
have to
vibe
figure
coded.
out.
100%
Yeah.
certain. So Moltbook, OpenClaw, all of it vibe coded.
Oh yeah, and there's
It's
an
incredible.
incredible website I need to send you that's like this religion for the OpenClaw bots. It's called
Yes.
Crustafarianism.
I
Did you see
mentioned that in my
that?
article. Yes. Ridiculous.
Like,
Ridiculous.
yeah, ridiculous. I wrote about it too, and I do like this AI wrap up every week now on PC Mag. It
Oh,
publishes on
nice.
Thursday. No, I write it on Thursday. It's a column that comes out on Friday. So I've been doing that.
Okay.
I did my fourth this week, but um, yeah, it's all just vibe coded, and so they're trying to kind of manifest their this future. But there's still so many problems with it, and I know there's like these viral posts on X are all fun, and they get thousands of retweets. But the reality is, there's a lot of security issues with these products, like you pointed out. There's a lot of just like people getting dumber by using these products, which people are not talking about enough. They think it's this great intelligence age. And then there are also just structural issues, like we don't have enough energy on the grid to support this crazed AI future that everyone is imagining. It's just point blank, not enough, huge issue. So I don't know. There's just people I don't think they think deeply about what's going on with AI, at least at this point.
Yeah. That is absolutely true. And by the way, this whole Moltbook thing, which is where the Crustafarian religion
Yeah.
emerged, this is such BS. It's such BS. I'll give you an example.
So dumb.
It's supposedly modeled after Reddit because the bots can upvote and downvote things on Reddit every day. Somebody will say, I'm going to post something on Reddit. So they go to ChatGPT and they say something interesting about this story, and they give it a link, and then they get the little blurb, and then they copy that and they paste it on Reddit. And then somebody wants to comment on that. And so they take the post and they paste it into ChatGPT, and they say, well, give me an intelligent comment. And then it gives a comment, and then they take that and they paste it into ChatGPT as a comment. This is common. This happens, 50,000 times a day on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can tell, sometimes you can't. This is exactly what Moltbook is. This idea that the bots
Yeah.
are talking. No, people are directing their agentic systems, their open claw systems, to go create a religion and come up with and so it's exactly like pasting that question into all it's doing is the agent is agentically copying and pasting from an AI chatbot into this Moltbook thing, and the same thing's happening with the comments. It's not machines gaining a hive mind or there's no singularity. It's just the same thing that happens on Reddit every day, minus the authentic content.
Correct. And Reddit is also getting less authentic. I had this experience where there was a long personal post of somebody whose kid took their credit card and bought $10,000 or $15,000 worth of Roblox, whatever they buy on Roblox. I had heard about this happening, and it was so I was like, "Oh, this is probably a real story. Maybe this is a real guy I can talk to who's willing to put this out on the internet, and I can read an article about it." So I messaged the user. I'm like, "Hey, I'm a journalist. I saw your post about Roblox, and I've been hearing that's an issue. I'm wondering if you could validate that story. I want to make sure it's real before I write an article about it." And I'm like, "Are you free for a phone call?" And I talk to people that I contact off Reddit all the time. It's not People are like, "Sure, yeah, here's my number." Like, I send them my profile and we chat. This person's like, "No, my phone's broken." And I'm like, Is it?" That's really odd. I don't think people's phones really break like that, but okay, fine. Do you want to do a quick video call? You clearly have a computer. You're accessing Reddit. And he's like, I can't. And it was just like a fake. It was completely fake. And then basically I was like, and then he goes, "Oh, also I want to talk to my wife first." And I was like, "Okay, sure, fair. That's the best thing you've said so far." And then I come back in a couple weeks. I open up our messaging thread to be like, "Hey, are you ready to talk about it?" And the account was banned.
Wow.
It's like
Incredible.
there's just so much fake stuff on Reddit, and it looks so real. It's just all that he obviously just generated it with an AI.
Yeah. In addition to people just using AI, there's also a concerted effort to for bots, nation states, China, Russia, all the usual suspects, Israel, Iran, the U.S. Just have AI bots in there just engaging on topics that are of interest to those countries, and so there are conspiracy theorists who are using AI to spread conspiracy theories. It's
Mm-hmm.
problematic, and it depends on the topic. If you go in on the Ukraine subject, you can bet that both Ukraine and Russia are in there really working hard
Oh
to
yeah.
spin the narrative. If you go into the macrame, thing, it's probably okay. Um, so it depends on the subject. So don't give up on Reddit. Just be aware. If anybody has a vested interest in swaying public opinion on the topic of that subreddit, beware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am ready to decrease confidence in Reddit because it has been seized by the AI companies because they rank trustworthiness of content in terms of what they surface. And it's IPO'd and signed licensing deals with all these AI companies. It's very much a corporate project at this point. And what I hear from companies like OpenAI in person at their events is we find users really trust responses from Reddit. So we have decided to boost Reddit responses in our chatbot output. And Reddit is now getting more fake. And so it's like they think we all are obsessed with Reddit, and I'm just raising the flag, like, you got to be a little careful no matter where you are. Apparently, everyone trusts everything they read on Reddit, according to these AI companies, and maybe you shouldn't.
Definitely, you shouldn't. And so I think that's a great point you make. And I guess to summarize the entire show,
Yeah, how
watch
do we
out
sum
for
it up?
AI chat. Well, first of all, watch out. AI is a slippery eel of information source, and it's like a
Yes.
box of chocolates. So you never know what you're going to get when you're using AI chatbots. On Reddit, you never know what you're going to get. The companies are not to be trusted and are going to try to decommodify using hardware, and that's not going to go well for them. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go well for us, though, because the hardware is going to be really neato. But and
Neato. Okay,
also,
I think maybe we can sum it up. We know AI, what is this, inshitification? So AI is ruining the internet. Don't let it
yes.
ruin your mind also.
Yes, yes. Mark Zuckerberg implied in the comment that I mentioned earlier that it's a desirable thing to have a cognitive advantage. And I completely agree with that. And the way that you have a cognitive advantage is you protect your mind and your brain and your thought process. Do your own homework and use AI to learn in an accelerated way that wouldn't be possible without AI. Always be skeptical of everything. That's another thing that we need desperately in the United States. I'll speak
Yep.
only for our country. Our political problems are 80% caused by a population of voters who who do not have the skills to think critically, and they don't have the education about how things work in general. I got into an argument, a ridiculous argument, on Substack with some person who's just saying all journalists are liars and they're, compromised, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I basically laid out, it's like, well, the reason you believe that is because you get your information from an algorithm which only wants your attention and has told you a bill of goods. If you knew how journalism works, this is all based on the Washington Post catastrophe, where 300 people were laid off. And he was like, good riddance, to hell with them. And so anyway, that was the context. And if you have no idea how journalism works, it's possible to have that point of view. If you know how journalism works, if you know how democracy works, you can't possibly have that point of view. And so AI can help you know how things work, and it can help you think critically. And so this is the muscle we need to build, and AI can help us. It wants to do the opposite.
But it can't do all of it.
It wants to make us soft in the head.
It can't do all of it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's the moral of the story. It can make you smarter, or it can make you dumber. Choose smarter.
Don't be a Tammy.
Don't be a Tammy. In a world of Tammys, be an Emily.
Don't be, Tammy is a little better in her AI form, but she was bad always. AI won't save you from being a Tammy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I should text
Absolutely. Just don't tell her about this podcast. Poor Tammy.
I'm going to send her a link to this. I'm so mad at her. All right. Well,
just out of revenge.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Tammy knows I'm a journalist. I'm going to be like, Tammy, I'm going to roast you publicly. Fix my frozen pipes. Anyway, that's a tangent. I'm going to wrap it up. This has been, I thought, a very fun episode of the Super Intelligent Podcast. Thank you for listening. Let us know what your rants are, who the Tammy is in your life. And as always, give us 5 stars, support. We love that people are tagging us on social media. They're commenting on our podcasts, and they're listening every week, which is so cool and what we wanted to do. So thank you guys, and see you next week.